Have you ever spent an hour at the pet store picking out the most expensive, top-rated cat food on the shelf, brought it home, poured it into their dish, and watched your cat take one single sniff before looking at you with absolute disgust? Makes you want to pull your hair out, doesn't it? You end up throwing $3 worth of premium food straight into the trash, only for your cat to relentlessly demand one specific cheap brand, one exact crunchy texture, or just refuse to eat altogether. You look down at them and think, my cat is just an incredibly picky eater. But what if I told you that your cat's refusal to eat isn't your fault? What if I told you they aren't actually picky at all, but rather they are trapped by rigid, wild instincts and a powerful biological texture fixation? If you saw the title of this video, you saw the promise. Today, I am going to teach you the exact step-by-step veterinary roadmap to completely fix your picky cat. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Tony Lee, your neighborhood veterinarian, and welcome back to the channel. As a vet, I hear it every single day. Dr. Tony, my cat is just a picky eater. But today, we are going to expose the massive biological and behavioral secrets that created that myth. Today, we are doing a complete masterclass on feline eating psychology. I am going to explain exactly how cats become biologically fixated on a food. I will give you a massive, life-saving veterinary warning about why you can never just wait out a stubborn cat. And then, I am going to give you my absolute favorite kitchen and environmental hacks to break their stubbornness and actually have them begging you for healthy food. Let's get your cat's appetite back on track with Chapter 1. We need to look behind the curtain at how their brain works. Welcome to the flavor fixation. I want to completely remove the guilt from your shoulders right now. Your cat is not a diva. Whether your cat is obsessed with dry kibble and refuses wet food, or they only want one specific brand of canned meat and reject everything else, cats are absolute biological creatures of habit. Commercial cat foods use heavy flavor enhancers to guarantee your cat loves them. On dry kibble, they use acidic animal digests. On canned wet food, they use heavily concentrated meat broths. But one of the most powerful ingredients used in the pet food industry is a specific palatability enhancer. Most notably, they use an inorganic salt compound called tetrasodium pyrophosphate. To a cat, pyrophosphates are essentially kitty crack. These inorganic compounds physically coat the cat's tongue, manipulate their taste receptors, and send an addictive, hyper-rewarding signal straight to their brain. To a cat, these flavor enhancers and exact textures act like a biological lock and key. Their brain receives such a strong, rewarding signal for that one specific food that it makes every other healthy meal taste like cardboard or sawdust by comparison. When you try to introduce any new food, their wild brain simply does not recognize it as safe or even as something edible. It isn't food to them. So we have to teach them how to eat again using simple biological hacks. But before we do that, we arrive at Chapter 2. As your veterinarian, I have an ethical duty to give you the most important rule of feline medicine. Welcome to the fatal mistake. When dog owners have a picky dog, the universal advice is, just put the bowl of healthy food down. If they don't eat it, pick it up. A healthy dog will not starve itself. Eventually, they will get hungry enough and they will eat it. However, you can never, ever do this with a cat. You cannot play a game of chicken with a stubborn cat to see who cracks first. If a cat decides they do not want the new food, they will absolutely, stubbornly refuse to eat. And if a cat stops eating, even for just 48 hours, their body undergoes a catastrophic, life-threatening metabolic crisis called hepatic lipidosis. We commonly call it fatty liver disease. Unlike humans or dogs, a cat's liver is not designed to process large amounts of mobilized fat. When a cat stops eating, there is a severe, rapid drop in their circulating insulin and blood glucose levels. This drop triggers a biological survival process called peripheral lipolysis. Their body rapidly breaks down its own stored fat and rushes it straight to the liver to be converted into emergency energy. But the feline liver simply cannot process that much fat that quickly. The fat physically gets trapped inside the liver cells. The liver swells, turns completely yellow, and physically begins to fail. Hepatic lipidosis is agonizing, and without thousands of dollars in emergency veterinary care, a feeding tube, and IV fluids, it is fatal. You must never let your cat skip meals for more than a day to try to force a diet change. Every transition must be slow, safe, and calculated. So if we can't starve them into submission, what do? We lay the groundwork. Welcome to Chapter 3, Fixing the Foundation. Before we can ever change what your cat eats, we must change how your cat eats. And that means we have to break the free feeding habit. In most households, a bowl of dry kibble sits on the kitchen floor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The cat just walks by, grazes, takes a few bites, and walks away. My friends, if your cat has access to an endless buffet of food all day long, they are never, ever going to build up a healthy, natural hunger cycle. Toppers and transition tricks will completely fail if they are allowed to graze all day. If they are never hungry, they have zero motivation to try a new, unfamiliar food. Starting tomorrow morning, the 24/7 all-you-can-eat buffet is officially closed. You are going to switch your cat to fixed, scheduled meals. Measure out their daily calorie allowance and divide it into 2 or 3 specific meals. Put the bowl down for 30 minutes. Let them eat. When 30 minutes is up, you pick the bowl up and put it away until the next mealtime. Within a few days, your cat's digestive rhythm will adjust. They will realize that food is a highly valuable resource that appears at specific times. When mealtime arrives, they will actually be motivated and hungry. Now, while you are fixing their schedule, there is another foundational rule you must fix immediately, and this one is going to completely blow your mind. I call it the 5-foot water bowl rule. I want you to walk into your kitchen right now and look at where your cat's food and water bowls are. Are they sitting right next to each other? Maybe they are even in one of those cute, connected double dish holders? We need to talk about wild feline psychology. In the wild, cats are solitary predators. When a wild cat hunts a mouse or a bird and makes a kill, the absolute last place they want to eat it is right next to a fresh stream of drinking water. Why? Because wild instincts tell them that dead meat sitting next to a water source means the water is highly contaminated with rotting bacteria. If you place your cat's water bowl directly next to their food bowl, their deep primal DNA kicks in. They look at the food, look at the water, and their brain says, "This environment is contaminated and dangerous." It causes massive mealtime anxiety for all cats, regardless of what food is actually in their dish. They will hesitate to eat, and they will almost certainly refuse to drink. The fix is incredibly simple. Move their water bowl or their fountain at least 5 feet away from their food bowl. Ideally, put the water in a completely different room. By separating the resources, you create a calm, instinctually safe eating environment. You will be absolutely amazed at how much more relaxed they become at dinner time. All right, the schedule is set, the water is moved, your cat is finally hungry at dinner time. Now, we actually have to change the food. Welcome to Chapter 4, the step-by-step texture progression. As I mentioned earlier, switching from one food to another, especially from crunchy dry kibble to wet pâté, is a massive shock to a cat's mouth. Kibble addicts absolutely hate sudden wet textures. We must slowly shift the physical texture so they do not even notice it is happening. We do this over a 2 to 3 week period using physical steps. Step 1 is the dry kibble phase. On day 1, you just take their normal, beloved dry kibble, but right before you serve it, you take 1 or 2 teaspoons of warm filtered water and drizzle it over the kibble. Do not make soup, just dampen it slightly. We are teaching their mouth that food can be slightly softer. You do this for about 4 days, slowly adding a tiny bit more warm water each day, letting it soak in so the kibble becomes spongy. Step 2. Once they are eagerly eating soft, spongy kibble, we introduce the wet food. Take just half a teaspoon of the new premium wet canned food. Mix it thoroughly into their bowl of mushy kibble. At this stage, the new wet food is simply acting as a gravy over the kibble they already trust. Step 3. Every 2 days, you decrease the amount of dry kibble by a tiny bit and increase the wet food by a tiny bit. Slowly, progressively shifting the ratio until it looks like a pâté mixed with crushed kibble pieces. Step 4 is pure wet food. By the end of week 2 or 3, the old dry kibble is entirely gone and your cat has seamlessly transitioned into eating an entirely healthy, hydrating, pure wet food diet. You bypass their stubbornness with pure patience and texture math. Now, I know some of you are listening to me right now thinking, Dr. Tony, that sounds great on paper, but the second I even put half a teaspoon of wet food into my cat's bowl, they smell it and run away in disgust. You are exactly who Chapter 5 is for. let's talk about the absolute best, most highly guarded veterinary secrets. Welcome to Chapter 5, the kitchen smell hacks. We must understand one profound biological fact. A cat eats with its nose, not its tongue. If a cat cannot smell its food, it simply will not eat. This leads us to the biggest mistake owners make with wet canned food. We buy a big can, we feed the cat half of it, and we put the rest of it in the refrigerator. The next morning, we take that cold can out of the fridge, plop a scoop into a bowl, and hand it to the cat. The cat sniffs it and walks away. Why? Let's go back to the wild predator. A wild cat hunts living, breathing prey. When a cat eats a freshly caught mouse, the meat is exactly 101.5 degrees Fahrenheit. It is warm, steaming, and giving off an incredibly strong, rich scent profile that triggers their appetite. When you serve a cat cold, wet food from a 35-degree refrigerator, the cold temperature suppresses all of the natural aromatic oils in the meat. It emits almost zero smell. To a predator's instinctual brain, cold meat that has no smell equals dead, rotting, disease-filled carrion. Their instinct screams, "Do not eat that, it will make you sick." Stop feeding your cat cold food. You do not need to cook it, and please never put cat food in a microwave. Microwaves create dangerous hot spots that can severely burn a cat's mouth, and it destroys the sensitive amino acids in the meat. But instead, we use the temperature trick. If you are trying to feed them wet food, put the cold scoop in their ceramic bowl and simply stir in a tablespoon of warm filtered water. Now, listen to me carefully. I said warm water. Never use scalding or kettle hot water. You just want lukewarm water around 100 degrees, just warm enough to bring the food to body temperature. Boiling water creates hidden scalding pockets that can severely burn a cat's tongue and esophagus. When you stir in that safe warm water, it physically raises the temperature of the meat. It instantly unlocks the aromatic fats. The steam carries the scent right up to their nose, and suddenly, they are ravenous for it. And if your cat is still refusing to eat their new, healthier dry kibble, you use the exact same trick. Briefly mist or drizzle that safe, lukewarm water over their dry kibble for just 10 seconds before you serve it. Warming up the sprayed animal fats on dry kibble releases the aromas, making stale or rejected dry food smell freshly hunted and irresistible again. You can also do this using a warm, pet-formulated bone broth to add massive flavor. But I must issue a critical safety warning here. If you use bone broth, you must use a broth made specifically for pets with zero onions or garlic. Never use human grocery store broth. Alliums, like onions and garlic, cause severe oxidative damage to feline red blood cells, leading to Heinz body anemia and potentially fatal organ failure. Always read your labels. But what if they need a little extra push? What if they need a bribe? Let's dive into Chapter 6. I'm going to give you my top 3 holistic, healthy toppers. In the veterinary community, we lovingly refer to these as kitty crack. If you sprinkle these over their dry kibble, it perfectly coats the crunchy surface. If you sprinkle them over wet food, it creates an enticing, irresistible aroma layer. Secret topper number 1, nutritional yeast. Do not confuse this with baking yeast. Nutritional yeast is a deactivated yeast that you can buy at almost any grocery store or health food shop. It comes in yellow flakes. It is absolutely loaded with B-complex vitamins, which are fantastic for a cat's skin and coat. But more importantly, it has an incredibly intense, savory, nutty, umami flavor. Cats absolutely lose their minds for the smell of it. Take a tiny pinch of nutritional yeast flakes and dust it over their meal like cheese. Secret topper number 2, crushed freeze-dried meat. Go to the pet store and buy a bag of single-ingredient freeze-dried chicken breast or wild salmon treats. Take one piece of the freeze-dried meat, put it in a little Ziploc bag, and smash it with the back of a spoon until it becomes a fine, powdery dust. Because it is freeze-dried, the flavor is intensely concentrated. Sprinkle that pure meat dust over the top of their food. Secret topper number 3, dried bonito flakes. You can find these in the international aisle of your grocery store or an Asian market. Bonito flakes are tissue paper thin shavings of dried smoked skipjack tuna. The smell is incredibly pungent and fishy. Just taking 2 or 3 paper thin flakes, crumbling them over your cat's dinner will trigger an immediate aggressive feeding response from almost any stubborn feline. And the absolute best part about all three of these toppers? They add practically 0 calories to the meal, and they are packed with natural biological nutrients. My friends, we have covered so much critical feline psychology today. We learned the fatal dangers of starving a cat with hepatic lipidosis. We fixed their schedules and respected their wild instincts by using the 5-foot water bowl rule. We conquered the flavor fixation with the step-by-step texture progression, the safe temperature hack, and our holistic kitty crack toppers. I know it is emotionally draining when your cat won't eat. It makes you feel like a failure, and it makes mealtime highly stressful for both of you. But I need you to promise me something today. Give yourself some grace. Changing the biological habits of a notoriously stern desert predator takes immense patience. If they sniff the food on Tuesday and walk away, do not panic and do not get angry. Just cover it up, try again later, and trust the process. You are rewriting years of chemical flavor addiction, and you are literally resetting their brain. By taking the time to learn these clinical, psychological steps, you are protecting their liver, managing their weight, and ensuring they thrive on fresh, healthy food for the rest of their natural life. The fact that you are sitting here educating yourself proves just how lucky that cat is to have you as a parent. So if this masterclass helped ease your anxiety today and gave you a game plan for dinner time tonight, please do me a quick favor and hit that like button, and make sure you subscribe so you never miss our veterinary secrets. Give your sweet, stubborn, incredibly loved cat a gentle scratch behind the ears for Dr. Tony tonight. Have fun mixing up that nutritional yeast. Trust the process, stay patient, and I will see you in the very next video.